For the first 20 seconds, picture a still morning where even the flies paused in the air. A pen creaked like a door that should not open. A massive bull stood inside, shoulders high, eyes fixed, breath slow and heavy. Men kept a safe distance and spoke in half-whispers. "He will never calm," one said. "He will break anything near him," another answered. Then a man stepped closer instead of stepping back. He set a dented tin cup on the dirt and said, "Give me 90 days. If I fail, I will pack my bag before sunset." No one replied. The wind dropped. The bull did not move, but something in the yard shifted, as if time itself held its breath to see what would happen. He had arrived after a long drive that left dust on his sleeves and a question in his chest. He stood 10 paces from the fence and tried not to stare at the bull. "I heard you chased 2 men, he said softly, more to the space than to any ear. "I heard you smashed the trough." The foreman rubbed his neck. "You heard right. We tried all the usual tricks. He hates people." The man shook his head. Maybe he hated what people did. He did not crowd the panel. He turned his body a little to the side so he looked smaller. He set an apple near the post, not close, not far, and then he stepped back to where the shadow met the dust. "If you want it, it's there. If you don't, I won't force you," he said. A young hand laughed under his breath. "You think he understands English?" The man did not answer. He watched the bull's ear flick, then settle again. Minutes stretched. "You're wasting time," the foreman muttered. "Maybe," the man said, "but I won't waste him." He lowered himself onto an old feed sack and spoke like someone telling a quiet story to the yard itself. "I left Colorado last week. I lost more than a place. I lost my center. I'm not asking you for trust. I am offering time." The bull lifted his head and fixed on the apple. He did not step toward it. He did not step away. He stood and studied the man who refused to push. "You see that?" the young hand whispered. "He's thinking." The man kept his gaze on the fence wire. "Good," he said, almost grateful. Thinking meant there was still a door we could open. He did not go closer the next day either. He arrived with quiet steps as if he did not want to wake the land. The sky was pale and the grass still held night frost. The bull stood exactly where he had been the evening before, the apple untouched. The man looked at it but did not show disappointment. "You don't trust gifts," he murmured. "Maybe someone once gave you something only to hurt you after." A ranch hand leaned on the railing. "You talk like he remembers who hurt him." The man dusted his palms on his jeans. "Not who. Just how it felt." The hand rolled his eyes. "Bulls don't think like people." The man gave a small smile. "Pain doesn't need language." He placed another apple, this time a little farther from the fence instead of closer. The onlookers frowned. "You're giving him less?" one asked. The man shook his head. "I'm giving him choice." He stepped back, sat again and rested his arms on his knees. His breathing stayed slow, the way you breathe when you want the world to calm with you. The bull snorted once, sharp like a question. Dust lifted from his hooves. The man didn't look directly at him. He pulled a sandwich from a wax wrapper and spoke softly. "Today I'll eat here again. You don't have to like me. But you will get used to me." A worker scoffed. "All you're doing is sitting." The man nodded. "Yes. Strange how hard that is for some folks." Time moved in slow inches. A truck engine started somewhere far, cattle lowed in the distance, and someone tossed hay out of a trailer. The bull flicked a fly from his side and took one small step toward the apple. No one dared to breathe. "Don't stare," the man whispered without lifting his head. "He feels eyes like heat." The ranch hand blinked away, surprised that the bull paused as if he had heard. The bull lowered his nose toward the apple and sniffed once, then looked at the man. Long, unbroken eye contact. The man did not lift his gaze. "Go ahead," he said quietly. The bull did not eat it, not yet. Instead, he pushed the apple once with his nose, then backed away slowly. The foreman frowned. He rejected it. The man shook his head. No. He inspected it. Trust doesn't start when he takes. Trust starts when he knows he can refuse. A thin silence stretched across the yard. Wind rattled the tin roof. The bull stood steady again, but something subtle had changed, like a knot had loosened somewhere deep that no one could see, only feel. "Tomorrow," the man whispered, "you'll remember that moment." The third morning felt heavier than the first two, as if the ranch itself waited to see who would break first, man or bull. The crew pretended not to watch, but their boots stayed close to the fence line. The apple from yesterday still lay where the bull had nudged it, a small dent on its red skin. The man crouched to pick it up, turning it in his fingers before placing it back in the same spot. "Still here?" he said softly. Still your choice. Someone behind him muttered, "This is useless." He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a small cloth pouch and set it beside him, unopened. "I brought something sweeter today," he murmured in the bull's direction, "but I won't offer it until you ask." The bull's ear twitched, then stilled again. There was no charge, no stomp, not even a deep breath of warning. Only watching. That was enough. The man sat again, same distance, same posture, not slumped, not tense. Still as a fence post, alive as a heartbeat. His voice came quiet. "I had a place once. Horses, land, dreams that felt strong. Then it all slipped like dust after rain. I didn't lose because I wasn't good. I lost because life sometimes hits the gentle ones hardest." A ranch hand scoffed. "You're telling your life story to a bull." The man wiped dust from his thumb. "He understands loss more than most." Minutes passed. Then something unexpected happened. The bull turned his head away. Not in anger. In thought. Like a tired soul deciding whether to look back at a world that once bit him. The man breathed out slow. "That's the first sign of calm," he whispered. A frightened animal stares. A thinking one looks away. "What, now you read bull minds?" someone called. The man smiled without joy. "I read what pain does." He reached into the bag and pulled out a small cube of carrot. "Sweet today," he said, laying it beside the apple. "Maybe tomorrow you'll try." Just then, a loud clatter of metal echoed from behind the barn. The bull jerked, muscles stiff, head snapping up. The ranch hands flinched. But the man didn't move, not 1 inch. "Easy," he said quietly, steady as a rock. The bull held his breath, then slowly released it, lowering his head just a little, not relaxed but not exploding. "See?" the man whispered to the silence. He remembered that nothing touched him yesterday. A hand at the fence whispered, almost afraid to break the moment, "Why did he stay calm?" The man's eyes stayed on the dirt, voice low. Because today, fear wasn't the only memory he carried. On the 4th morning, the sun rose slow and golden, stretching across the ranch like it too wanted to see what would happen next. The bull stood near the far side of the pen, not hiding, not pacing, just watching the gate as if waiting to see whether the man really meant to return again. And he did. Same steady walk, same quiet breath, same worn boots pressing gently into the dirt. A ranch hand leaned against a fence post. "I bet today he finally loses patience," he whispered. Another answered, "Or he gives up and asks for a new job somewhere sane." The man heard but didn't react. He placed a folded blanket on the ground this time, not the feed sack. "Comfort goes both ways," he whispered. He sat, not rushed, not dramatic. "I won't run from you. You don't have to run from me." The bull flicked his ear, then shifted one hoof a few inches forward, small but different than the days before. The man noticed without looking up. He unwrapped a biscuit and took a quiet bite. "In Colorado," he said, voice steady, "I could hear horses breathe from across a field. I learned that silence tells more truth than shouting ever did." "That bull doesn't care about your old ranch," a worker mocked. The man shrugged. "Maybe not. But pain travels. It doesn't matter where it starts." He placed another carrot cube and a slice of pear near the fence, lining them neatly like little promises. "Still your choice," he said softly. "I do not take choice from anyone." Then he leaned back, eyes drifting to the sky, forcing his body to look relaxed enough for the bull to sense ease, not threat. For a long time nothing happened. The world felt like it paused. Wind brushed the grass but did not move the bull. Then, with slow, almost thoughtful steps, the bull approached, not all the way, not fast, but enough to make every watcher forget to breathe. 2 steps, then another. When he reached the fruit, he didn't eat immediately. He lowered his head, sniffed each piece like measuring trust grain by grain. "He's going to grab it and charge," someone whispered. The man shook his head. "He has nothing to prove today." The bull nudged the pear slice, then, almost unwilling, ate it. One clean chew. One swallow. Then he stepped back, not in fear but in dignity, like someone saying, "I chose this." The man finally lifted his gaze, not at the bull but at the space between them. "Thank you," he murmured. No applause. No triumph. Just a quiet moment where a broken thing trusted a broken thing. A ranch hand whispered, "Why thank him?" The man answered softly, eyes never leaving the dirt, "Because trust is never owed. It's earned, and today he gave me a small piece of it." The 5th morning felt almost strange. The ranch, which usually woke with noise and hurry, seemed to move slower, as if everyone waited to see whether yesterday was luck or the start of something real. The bull stood closer to the front of the pen than any previous dawn, not tense, just present, like a guard who had stopped guarding and started noticing the world again. The man walked in with the same calm steps, the same quiet hands carrying nothing special, just an old metal thermos and a crumbly biscuit that left flakes on his sleeve. A voice from somewhere near the hay shed said, "Watch, today's the day it all falls apart." Another replied, "Or starts coming together." The man didn't react. He placed the thermos down gently, sat on his folded blanket, and looked at the dirt between his boots. "Yesterday you ate because you felt safe," he said, voice barely above a hum. "Today you can decide again. Choice is still yours." The bull breathed out slowly like someone letting go of something heavy. He took a few steps, hooves crunching softly on dry earth. The man didn't look at him. His eyes rested on the steam rising from his cup. He took a sip and flinched just slightly. "Too hot," he whispered, and a few hands chuckled. It was so human, so ordinary, so unthreatening, that even the bull tilted his head, almost curious. "You know," the man said softly, "fear usually doesn't start big. It starts small. One loud sound. One rough hand. One broken promise." The bull twitched his tail, pacing a slow half-circle, not anxious but thinking. The man continued, "People think strength is in force. But real strength is in waiting. Staying. Showing up again when you have reason not to." One ranch hand scoffed. "You sound like you're fixing yourself more than him." The man smiled a little. "Maybe both of us need it." He tossed a carrot cube casually, not at the bull, not near him, but gently toward the side, where the bull could claim it without feeling watched. The bull walked to it, hesitated, then ate it, slower this time, as if testing not the food but the moment. A soft murmur rolled through the crew. The man didn't smile big, he only nodded once. "You chose again," he whispered. "And each choice builds a wall against fear." A worker leaned closer. "What about when he doesn't choose?" The man brushed dust from his palm. "Then we wait. Trust doesn't grow in straight lines." The bull paused, staring quietly, and for the first time, instead of fear, there was something different in his eyes. Not softness, not friendship, but a question. A door half open in a heart that once slammed shut. And the man, still looking at the ground, whispered, "Whenever you're ready, I'll be here." On the sixth morning, clouds hung low, and the air smelled like coming rain. The ranch was quieter than usual, as if even the wind wanted to hear what happened next. The bull stood near the center of the pen, not hiding, not guarding, just waiting. Not for food. Not for fear. For him. The man walked in with steady steps, boots sinking a little in the soft soil. He did not hurry. He did not smile. He moved like someone who understood that patience was not weakness, but a kind of power only wounded hearts learned. A ranch hand whispered, "If that bull trusts him again today, I'll start believing in miracles." Another elbowed him. "Miracles? It's just slow work." The first one shook his head. "No, it's something else. You can feel it." And you could. The ranch held that strange tension again, the kind that comes before something rare happens. The man sat on his blanket and rested his hands loosely on his knees. "I don't come here to control you," he said softly without looking at the bull. "I come so you don't face your past alone." The bull lifted his head, ears turning toward the voice like a compass finding north. His muscles didn't tighten. His breath didn't rush. He simply listened. A moment later, the bull walked forward, slower than yesterday but closer than ever before. Everyone froze. The man did not move. He didn't even blink fast. He only breathed slow, steady, safe. When the bull reached the fence, he lowered his head near the ground, close enough that the man could hear his breath. Dust rose around his hooves. "Is he going to touch him?" someone whispered. The man heard but didn't respond. Instead, he gently placed his palm on the dirt, not toward the bull, just near him. A choice. A quiet offering. For a few long seconds nothing happened. Then, soft as a sigh, the bull lowered his nose and brushed the dirt near the man's hand. Not touching but so close the space between them felt electric. A ranch hand gasped. "He almost touched him." The man whispered, voice steady as still water, "Almost is everything. Almost means he wanted to." He slowly pulled a slice of pear from his pocket and set it beside his knee. No force. No call. Just offering. The bull didn't eat. He only breathed deep and steady. Pause. A question. A memory slowly being rewritten. Then, from behind, someone kicked a bucket by accident. Metal clanged. Loud. Sure. The bull flinched. Everyone tensed, everyone except the man. He didn't move an inch. He only breathed and whispered, "It was just a sound. You are safe." The bull's muscles trembled once, then stilled. He didn't run. He didn't rear. You stayed. A worker whispered, stunned. Why didn't he bolt? The man finally raised his eyes, not to the bull but to the sky. Because today, he said softly, he trusted the silence inside him more than the noise outside. The ranch went quiet, every heart feeling the truth of that moment. And the bull, for the first time, did not look like an animal fighting ghosts. He looked like someone trying to believe in peace again. The seventh morning came with soft mud underfoot and a sky that looked unsure whether to rain or clear. The man walked to the pen with the same slow steps, but this time he paused at the gate longer than usual. Not from doubt, there was no doubt left in him now, but because he understood the weight of this day. A quiet thought crossed his face. Some walls do not fall at once. They crumble in breaths. The bull stood closer than any morning before, waiting, not aggressive, not cautious, simply waiting like someone who had learned that routine could be safe. A ranch hand whispered, "He's expecting him." Another replied, "Animals don't expect." But the bull's stillness said otherwise. The man set his blanket down, then surprised everyone by not sitting. Instead, he stood there calmly, hands down, body loose, the way a person looks when they are not trying to win, just trying to be true. "Today," he said softly, "you can lead the moment if you want. I won't rush you." The bull blinked slowly and stepped closer, one hoof sinking slightly in damp soil. His head lowered, not in fear but in thought. The man bent, picked up a handful of grass from outside the fence, and placed it gently near the panel. "No fruit today. Just grass. Just simple trust." A worker frowned. "Why grass?" The man answered without looking away from the bull. "Sometimes progress isn't giving more. Sometimes it's giving normal." The bull sniffed the grass, then took it in one slow bite. The ranch fell silent. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it was powerful, the bull choosing calm instead of instinct. Then the man did something that made the foreman stiffen. He lifted his hand slowly, palm open, not touching the fence, just close enough for the bull to see. A bold act, but gentle. The bull's eyes softened, then he leaned closer, nostrils brushing the air over the man's fingers. For one tiny second, the space between man and animal disappeared, not through force but invitation. And then the twist, a cow in the next enclosure bellowed suddenly, loud and sharp. A jerk, a flash of tension in the bull's muscles. The crew tensed too, fear spreading like sparks. But the bull didn't lunge. He didn't spin away. He only stepped back once, planted his feet and looked at the man, not the threat. The man whispered, not triumph, just truth. "You didn't run. You checked with me first." A ranch hand murmured, almost shaken, "That's not training." "No," the man answered quietly. "That's trust, learning how to breathe." The eighth morning carried a quiet weight, like the land itself understood that every moment now mattered. The sky was clear again, washed clean by last night's short rain. Wet soil clung to boots, and the fence posts glimmered as if someone had polished them in the dark. The bull waited near the gate, not close enough to seem tame but not far enough to seem afraid. He stood like someone who had stopped running from ghosts and started wondering about the living. The man set his blanket down but didn't sit immediately. He placed his palm on the top rail of the fence, steady and open, letting the bull see his stillness before his presence. A ranch hand whispered, "He's testing fate now." Another shook his head. "No. He's testing trust." The man finally sat, but not on the blanket. He sat on the bare earth, damp from rain, as though lowering himself onto the ground was a gesture, not a habit. "Today," he said softly, "you don't need to come to me. I will stay as long as you stay with me." The bull gave a long exhale, warm breath visible in the morning chill. Then, slow as sunrise, he walked closer and stood just one fence board away. The man did not reach, did not praise. He simply murmured, "I see you." One worker, arms crossed, stared hard. "He could change any second," he muttered. The man nodded. "So could anyone." Another replied, "This isn't anyone. This is a bull who almost killed people." The man kept his eyes low. He didn't come into this world wanting to hurt. Someone taught him fear first. A short silence. Even the wind paused. Then the man shifted just 1 inch, and the bull flinched slightly, head rising. The man froze. "It's all right," he whispered. "I moved too fast. That's on me." The bull held still, nostrils flaring, testing the air. Slowly he settled again. Every ranch hand saw it, not obedience but a choice to stay. "Why didn't you try touching him?" someone asked. The man answered, "Touch before trust is pressure. Trust before touch is peace." Minutes stretched. The bull lowered his head and grazed near the fence, calm, not guarded. Then he did something unexpected. He turned his side toward the man. Not his horns, not his head, his side. The safest part of his body. A soft gasp rolled through the ranch. Someone whispered, "That means he accepted him." Another shook his head, stunned. "Or he surrendered." "No," the man replied gently. "He allowed." A loud metallic clang sounded from the far barn again. The bull stopped chewing, eyes sharp, then looked at the man first, waiting. Tiny but enormous. The man whispered with warmth that felt like a sunrise inside his chest, "Every day you choose courage over memory." The bull blinked slow, then lowered his head again. A decision made. A past defied. And every soul watching felt it, quiet, steady, unbelievable progress. The 9th morning came with a dry breeze and light dust dancing across the yard, as if the earth itself wanted to remind everyone that nothing stayed still forever, not even pain. The bull stood close to the front of the pen again, as though habit had formed, as though he now woke waiting for the man the way a wounded heart waits for a familiar calm. And the man, he didn't carry anything today. No fruit, no thermos, not even the blanket. Just himself, hands empty, as if to say, "If you only trust me when I bring gifts, then you don't trust me, you trust the gifts." A worker narrowed his eyes. "Why come empty?" The man smiled a tired little smile. "Because one day life stops offering treats. Trust has to stand alone." "That sounds like a test," someone muttered. "No," he said. "A truth." He stepped toward the fence, slower than ever before, like each step was a promise. The bull didn't step back. He only watched, ears forward, breathing steady. The man lowered himself to the dirt again, crossing his legs, resting his palms face up on his knees, vulnerable, exposed, unguarded. A gesture that said, "You can choose peace or fear. I will not choose for you." The bull moved first this time. One step. Pause. Another step. The air thickened. A ranch hand whispered, "He's gonna touch him today. I feel it." The foreman shook his head. "Or he's going to spook and throw us back to day one." But the bull didn't spook. He stopped just inches from the fence, close enough that the man could hear the soft, steady rumble in his chest. The man didn't move. "If you want to walk away, walk," he whispered. "I don't hold you here." The bull lowered his head, not the stiff, suspicious dip of hiding fear, but a soft, deliberate bow, like a creature remembering gentleness. Then his nose brushed the man's hand, just a touch, brief as a breath, but real. The ranch held silence so tight even the birds didn't dare speak. A worker gasped. He touched you." The man didn't lift his head. "He trusted," he murmured. "Touch is just proof." But right then a wheelbarrow hit a rock behind the barn, sharp thud, rattling metal. The bull flinched, legs tensing, head rising like old instinct trying to wake. A second of danger. A lifetime of memory ready to return. Every muscle in the yard froze. The man whispered without moving, "Breathe first. Decide second." The bull held, trembled, then settled. One breath. Then another. Someone exhaled shakily. "How did you stop him from panicking?" The man finally opened his eyes. "I didn't stop him. He stopped himself." That's how you know healing isn't a trick, it's real. And for the first time, someone from the crew whispered the thing no one dared say before. Maybe this bull isn't dangerous anymore. The 10th morning felt different. Not tense, not fearful, but full, like the earth was holding its breath for a miracle it now expected instead of doubted. Word had spread across the ranch. Even men who pretended not to care drifted closer, leaning on rails, arms crossed, pretending they needed to check equipment when really they came to witness whatever happened next. The bull stood near the front again, tail slow, ears soft, not the stance of a fighter but of someone waiting for a familiar voice. The man arrived with nothing in his hands, same quiet presence, same steady breath. But today he opened the gate. Not wide, only enough for him to slip inside the pen. Gasps rippled across the crew. "You're crazy," someone whispered. "He'll get himself hurt," another muttered. The foreman clenched his jaw but didn't stop him. He only said, "If you feel danger, you call out." The man shook his head gently. "If I call, then I never deserved his trust in the first place." He stepped inside, not close, not bold, just there, giving space like space itself was a gift. The bull's head lifted a little, not in threat, but in question. The man lowered his gaze and slowly crouched, making himself small, unthreatening. "I'm here with you," he murmured. "Not for control. For company." The bull moved, slow, thoughtful steps, stopping halfway, breathing deep. This wasn't obedience. It was a decision. He lowered his massive head, nostrils flaring softly, as if checking whether the air around this man still held the same calm it always did. It did. The man extended his hand, not to touch but to offer presence. The bull stepped closer, and this time he didn't hesitate. He touched the man's palm, firm, warm, grounded. A connection without fear. Someone near the fence whispered, voice trembling, "I never thought I'd see that." Another replied, almost shaken, "He looks gentle." Then, sudden footsteps behind the barn. A ranch boy ran past chasing a dog, shouting, laughing, boots thudding loudly across the dirt. The bull jerked, muscles rising like a wave, instinct flaring hard enough to shake the air. The crew stiffened. Someone grabbed a fence post as if that could save anyone. The man didn't jump. Didn't shout. He placed his hand on his own chest, slow, showing breath, showing calm. "You are safe," he said, voice low, steady. "Noise isn't threat anymore." For a few long seconds the bull trembled, caught between old memory and new trust. Then slowly, his body eased. His head dropped, muscles softening, breath settling into peace again. A ranch worker whispered, voice hushed with awe, "That right there, that's not training. That's healing." Another answered quietly, "And healing chooses you back." The man did not smile. His eyes only softened as he touched the bull's side, light as a leaf falling. "You stayed," he murmured. "Not because I held you, but because you held yourself." And for the first time, every person watching knew, this wasn't a wild animal anymore. This was a soul learning freedom from fear. The 11th morning carried a nervous kind of hope, the kind people feel when they want to believe but fear believing too soon. Even the birds sat quieter on the fence line, as if they knew something delicate was unfolding. Word had reached the neighboring ranch already. 2 men leaned on a truck bed, pretending to look at feed bags while stealing glances toward the pen. "They say he touched him yesterday," one whispered. "They say the bull didn't even flinch." The other shook his head, half in disbelief, half in wonder. "If that's true, we're watching history." The man did not walk to the pen today. He walked into it. Gate clicked behind him. Slow steps. Soft breath. No bag, no blanket, no fruit, no promises except his presence. The bull lifted his head and took 1, then 2 steps toward him, steady, confident. Somewhere behind them, someone whispered, "He's greeting him." "No," the foreman murmured, "he's accepting him." The man crouched again, but this time instead of looking at the dirt, he looked at the bull, not in challenge, not in command, but like 2 old souls finally meeting at the same point in life. "You get to choose again," he said quietly. "You always do." The bull moved forward, and this time instead of just touching his hand, he nudged the man's shoulder. Gentle, honest, deliberate. A sound left the crowd, half gasp, half something close to relief. And then the unexpected happened. Old rancher Walter stepped toward the fence. He wasn't loud, but his boots crunched the gravel, and the bull turned his head sharply. Fear flickered, brief but real. The man felt the shift and lowered his head slightly as if bowing to calm the air. "It's all right," he murmured, a soft gravity in his tone. Different man. Same peace. Walter froze, shocked that the bull had noticed him. He lifted his palms and whispered, "Easy? I'm not here to hurt you." The bull hesitated, muscles rippling with old instinct. The man breathed slowly, and the sound of that breath steadied the ground beneath them. Then, to everyone's disbelief, the man did something wild in its simplicity. He moved aside, putting Walter in front of him. A direct test. A statement without saying a word. "He no longer needs me as a shield." Walter swallowed, nerves plain in his face. The bull stared at him, breathing slow, nothing in his posture speaking of rage, only memory. Walter whispered, "Boy, I never wanted to be your enemy. Fear made fools of us both." The bull lowered his head again, not in surrender but in recognition. A forgiveness without language. A truce without rope or gate. Walter blinked rapidly, wiping his eyes like dust had blown into them. "Lord," he muttered, voice cracking, "I doubted you. And I doubted him too." The man stood, lightly placing a hand on Walter's arm, not guiding, not protecting, just sharing the moment. "Doubt is normal," he whispered. "Healing is rare." The bull stood beside them quietly, not as a threat, not as a test, but as proof. And around the pen, tough ranch hands, men who never cried, never bent, never softened, found themselves silent, because strength did not look like force that morning. Strength looked like trust returning home. The 12th morning felt like dawn waited a little longer before rising, as if the sky itself wanted to be gentle. The man didn't hurry. He moved like someone who knew the work was already done deep in the quiet places no one could touch. Today he carried nothing at all, Not food, not tools, not even a plan. Trust didn't need props anymore. When he opened the gate, he didn't step inside right away. Instead, he stood there and watched the bull, really watched him the way someone looks at a friend they've walked through storms with. The bull lifted his head, tail swishing lazily, and walked forward. No tension, no hesitation. Just calm, like a creature finally believing the world would not bite him again. The man stepped in only when the bull reached him. And then, in a moment so simple it felt holy, he placed his hand on the bull's neck. Not light like a test, firm, steady, certain. The bull didn't flinch. If anything, he leaned into the touch, closing his eyes the way tired souls do when they finally feel safe. Behind them, someone whispered, voice thick with feeling, "That's it. He's not wild anymore." The man shook his head softly. He was never wild. He was wounded. Wounds look like danger until someone stays long enough to see the pain underneath. A young hand exhaled. So what happens now? The man glanced at the ranch, at the fields, at the world opening again. Now he lives his life. And so do I. Later, when the bull walked freely among the herd, no one gasped anymore. They just watched, quiet, humbled. The ranch felt different now, like something heavy had been lifted, not from land but from hearts. It was clear in the way men spoke softer, walked slower, and looked at the bull not with fear but with respect. In the evening, as the sunset turned the fields gold, the man leaned on the fence. Walter walked up beside him. "You fixed him," Walter said. The man shook his head gently. "No. He found himself. I only stayed long enough for him to believe people could be safe again." Walter nodded and looked at the field, eyes soft. "Funny. I think he returned that lesson to you too." The man smiled, not wide but true. "Maybe healing always works both ways." Moral. Fear turns hearts into walls. Patience turns walls into doors. And when someone chooses trust over memory, even the wildest soul finds peace again.